Ranked, or as Valorant likes to call it, rated, will be added to the closed beta either today or in the next couple of days. In this mode you can test your skills against other people to eventually get a rating for your efforts. In this mode, every player will try their best to get a high ranking, which means that we all want to be the best we can and pick the best agents for each situation. For this, I wanted to make a tier list on the agents I believe are the most useful in Valorant and eventually give you a team of 5 agents that I believe will be good on each map. If you liked the video or learned something from it, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's take a look at the best agents to use in ranked Valorant. For this video, I'm going to use this handy tier list maker from tierlists.com to go step by step with every agent and explain where I think they belong on the list. On this list, S tier is like the God tier, which should be in each game, while the other tiers are pretty self-explanatory and can be switched up in some situations. I'll edit in some footage of the agents as well to spice up the video and show you what the agents can do. Some of these images are from my livestream over at twitch.tv/quickso, so be sure to check that out as well. Let's work from top to bottom, starting with the S tier. First up, we have Cypher going into the S tier. Knowledge and time are the 2 most important features to have in Valorant, and Cypher gives you both. With his camera he can simply peek corners and entire areas without ever revealing himself. He can even be somewhere completely different on the map while checking for his team if the enemy is at a certain location. His traps are also a great way to tell if people are coming, since they give away your enemy's location, either by them walking into it or them having to shoot the trap. His cages are a great way to slow down the enemy going into a certain position or work as a smoke so you can go to a more favorable position unseen from the enemy. His ultimate is of course also insane, telling where all the enemies are at that given time, again giving information for your entire team. Cypher is the agent that gives you the most intel and should be on every single team. This is why he deserves to be an S tier, I believe. Next up is Sage, also going into the S tier. I think it's almost pretty self-explanatory why Sage is God tier in Valorant. Sage can heal herself and her allies, slow down the enemy, even block off entire entrances and boost yourself and teammates to positions you normally can't go. Next to that, she has a round-changing ultimate since she can resurrect a fallen teammate. You will need and want a Sage in every single team comp. Her heal is extremely important as well. Even if your team gets a bit of chip damage, she can immediately restore your health for the next engage, nullifying the poke damage of the opponents. Her strength on defense is enormous. If she holds a point and the enemy pushes that point, your team will always have enough time to rotate towards her position, since she can slow and wall off the enemy to stall time. Again, time and knowledge are the most important features for your team, and Sage can provide an insane amount of time for your team. Sage is also really strong on attack, since she can force your team to play carelessly with her heal and res, and she can also wall off enemies to favor the engages for your team. I read somewhere that Sage is the agent with the most 1v1, 1v2, 1v3 and yes, 1v4 comebacks, and I completely understand why. You want Sage in every single team. Next up is someone you might not have expected in S tier, but it's Sova. Sova is an agent that can provide a ton of intelligence for your team and is useful in a lot of situations. He also has a pretty high skill ceiling with his sonar arrows and shock darts, which makes him very fun to learn all around. Sova's main strength comes from his sonar arrow and his owl drone. With his sonar arrow you can about 3 times per round scout an area, revealing if the enemy is there or not. This is extremely strong, since it can help you provide intel for your team, but also going on to a point or in fights with the enemy. The owl drone I have found to be extremely helpful while attacking or after the enemy has planted the spike. You can scout an area, seeing where everyone is and tagging one guy at least. If you have your ultimate, the tagged enemy should be an easy kill for you. I use this each time I have an ult and seem to always get at least 1 kill. Sova is extremely strong, and next to Sage and Cypher I would always want him on my team, probably played by myself. Now it's time to move into the A tier. These agents you can switch up with all of the below basically, but I would still prefer the next 2 in my team as opposed to the ones below. First up is Breach, a highly underappreciated agent that should be picked more often in my opinion. Breach is an absolute beast when it comes to engages and re-engaging the enemy. He is very useful when rushing into his site with abilities that go through walls. He doesn't even have to show himself to throw out a flashbang or roll out one of his 2 earthquake abilities. His E is very strong and very good as soon as you get the hang of it. It helps you start fights or counter them. You stun the enemy so effectively that you will almost always certainly get a kill if you get a hit. I absolutely love Breach and don't get why he is played so little, but maybe it's because of his look. I guess Sage and Cypher look a lot cooler to play than Breach, but he is extremely strong and very useful for your team. Breach also has insane clutch potential with his abilities, which makes for cool comebacks. Next to Breach, we have the other absolute unit in the A tier, Brimstone. His kit is built like an all-round soldier, ready for battle. His molly does insane damage and can be very useful to check spots or flush out enemies, while his ultimate is strong in certain situations as well. I'm not a big fan of his stim beacon and don't use it very often, but I am a very big fan of his smokes. The smokes seem to last forever and let you push or defend an area very easily. The way you put them down makes them almost feel unfair, since you can literally pinpoint where you want the smoke to land. Their duration is insanely long and takes a lot of time away from the enemy on defense, since they probably don't want to push through them, while also being very useful on attack, since you can smoke off the standard spots the enemy is looking at. With these 5 agents you have my perfect team: Cypher, Sage, Sova, Breach and Brimstone. With this setup you get heals, slows, knowledge, time, even a resurrection and the best smokes in the game. You can change the agents a bit of course if you'd like, and if you are good with an agent, it can surely be very good in each instance. That being said, let's take a look at the rest of the lot. In the B tier I will put Viper, but she definitely has the possibility to go up a tier if she is played correctly. I believe Viper has a very high skill ceiling, and as soon as you learn where to put her smoke and where to throw down her wall, she becomes more useful. I've played with players that know her smoke lines on bind, where you can see the enemy's feet but they can't see you. Stuff like this almost free wins you the round, and Viper has more tricks like that up her sleeve. She has the potential to solo carry the game, but in a team setting she doesn't provide as much as the other agents in the list above. But in the hands of the right player, her effectiveness goes from B tier to A. So if you are interested in Viper, you can definitely learn to play as her and become very useful for your team. Next to Viper I want to put Phoenix. When the game released I was very charmed by the British agent, but as time went on I realized other agents were more useful for the time. Phoenix is great at engaging, has a self-heal and can block some of the enemy's vision, but is all in all not that great for team play. Phoenix is designed as a great opening fragger, after which he can heal a bit if needed and try to get another frag. This has of course a role in the team and could be very useful, but in terms of useful skills that help the group in general, he has less to offer than the rest. With that being said, I do believe Phoenix is extremely cool to play and well designed and can have a spot in your team. I would just rather have Breach's flash for example, since the rest of Breach's kit is more useful than Phoenix for his team. Moving into the lower tiers, in C I firstly put Omen. Omen has some smokes, but they don't last as long as Brimstone's. Furthermore, Omen's abilities are very cool to make plays with, but again don't provide much for your team. You can get cool frags and play with your enemies with his teleports, but that doesn't help the rest of the team. His blind is very situational and seems to need a fix since it doesn't always stick as well. His ultimate is also very situational since you want to mainly use it to rotate or surprise your enemy. Omen is cool, but I'd rather have someone else in my team. Next to Omen we have Jett, also in C tier. Maybe a big shock for most people since Jett seems to be a fan favorite, but in ranked you want synergy and the team working together. Jett is more of a lonely warrior that wants to get frags on the enemy in stylish ways. This results in very cool clips, but isn't as useful for the entire team. Her smokes last a very short duration and the rest of her kit is designed to move around fast and surprise the enemy. This results in a reactionary playstyle rather than planning stuff out, which means again that you can't plan team plays with her. I want to see Jett plays on Reddit, but rather not in my ranked team. Although Jett can be really strong if you are a beast on the agent, but again that counts for every agent, and I believe as soon as you get into the higher rankings, Jett won't be as useful. Someone who probably also won't be as useful in higher rated games is Raze. When Raze was released she was deemed overpowered, not suitable for the game and should be removed. After the nerfs and playing more with and against her, I do believe she belongs in the bottom tier if we're talking about team play. Her abilities don't provide anything for the team and are solemnly focused around getting kills or flushing out a spot. Raze can be very good in the lower tiers, but as soon as you know how to play against her, she won't form as much of a threat anymore. I would suggest playing her in lower tiers if you are good with her, but you'll notice as you get in higher tiers that she won't be as useful and you need to learn a different agent and help the team. So there you have it guys, my 2 cents of which agents you should pick. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about the tier list. Do you believe I put some ages in the wrong spot, or is this how you feel about the game as well? For now, I want to thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.